All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have the great Joe Zagacki on interview with me, stateoftheu.com. I'm Mike McCoy. Joe needs no introduction. Joe Zagacki, voice of the Miami Hurricanes, football, baseball, basketball, you name it. And I thought I thought it'd be a really good idea to get his perspective on the historic and recent run that the UM men and women's basketball team have made. I mean, they've made program history. They made all of us very proud. Joe, I'm sure, is exhausted from his trip. He's back in Miami. And Joe, first of all, thank you very much for your time for contributing to the interview. Just in a nutshell, man, really quick, whirlwind, how has it been the past since getting back to Miami at least?
Well, Mike, thanks for having me. I would say the last 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, going back to when Florida State hit the game winner against Miami until the other night, probably has been the most intense broadcasting time of my life. It's just been, every possession, every game, every second has been filled with passion and energy, both during the games and trying to get ready for games and going to games. And for the last month since Selection Sunday, we're really the ACC tournament. It's Greensboro, back to Coral Gables, to Albany, back home, to Kansas City, back home, to Houston, and all these games. And it feels like, you look out on the calendar and go, yeah, but you got about 5 days in between games or whatever. And it doesn't feel like that. Everything gets condensed. And there's just so many demands for your time that the games are actually the easiest and most fun part. But the games have been high level. And as my wife said the other day, she said, man, I don't know. There's just so many highs, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. But you just got to keep going and try to find the balance. But what an incredible journey by the University of Miami basketball team.
Yes, both the men's and women. So as you were, describing the hectic schedule and the frantic everything, the past couple of weeks, it just made me want to ask you, what did you learn about the team? Not so much about the adults around the team, the coaches and the staff and everything like that, but the players themselves, because like you said, it's a hectic schedule. It's crazy. And to be so young and to be, have class, it's in the middle of spring break, and to travel and back, you just named all Greensboro, Miami, Coral Gables, and New York and all of that stuff. What did you learn about how maybe determined or how focused these young men and women are?
Well, I'm with the men all year long, so every step of the way, and from the beginning of the season until the very bitter end. I'm with them on the road for breakfast, lunch, dinner, practice, shoot around, bus rides, plane rides. So I feel like I have a very good relationship with those players. And I just think a couple things. One, they are kids, and they always amaze me how much they're able to accomplish, how much they're able to consume, and then go out and do, whether it's schoolwork or the demands off the floor with interviews and all that. And then when I watch Coach L put his game plan together, and he goes to the game plan and he says to them, "Do we all understand? Everybody understand?" They say yes, and then I say to myself, "Well, I don't know. We'll find out." And they go out and execute at a really high level. And I think a lot of the players or the team almost kind of reflected Isaiah Wong, because he's just, always um, just straight across.
Okay.
Win, lose, scores 27, scores 10. You really don't know. There are no highs or lows to him. He's just very even keeled with just, very focused and even keeled. And I think that's the best way to describe this team all year long. He's never lost focus. They never really lost their poise,
Mhm.
and they always just had a real joy for playing and being around each other.
Okay. No, fair enough. Because I mean, I can imagine um, it's a lot to ask for from a group of young men and women that, I mean, they have each other, which is great, and then they have a great coach like Coach L, which leads me to my next question. I mean, he's the type of guy that a lot of people would want to play for. A player's coach, a guy that, I mean, you hear when your players talk about him, like he lets us be us. How important do you think that is not the relationship that he has with them, but maybe the trust that he exudes in them, or confidence, I should say, he exudes in them, and how maybe they parlay that onto the court and maybe even off the court, because chemistry is on and off the court. And like a lot of the guys from the 2001 football team say, we were tight on and off the field. So can you kind of talk about how that relationship or that dynamic with Coach L and the guys helps on the court?
Coach L considers himself a teacher, kind of like a professor. So in his mind, he's going to teach them all the time. He loves practice. He loves all the things around practice. And his motto is train and trust. So he trains them on the practice court. He trains them hard. But then when the game starts, he has trust. And so he just lets them play. And often you will notice a guy will take a shot. Fans might react and say, it's a bad shot. Coach L claps. They might throw the ball away. Fans might go, where is he throwing the ball? Coach L claps. He becomes a cheerleader during the game. Why? Because he's already done all the training. He knows what the next move is. They make a mistake. He knows that they've been trained to overcome those mistakes and that they will. And so I just think he's got this great motto of training and trusting. And I think he probably spends about every waking minute of his day trying to figure out how we can make every player better, whether it's on the floor or doing something else. It might be Wooga Poplar, and he might say, man, I'm going to send Wooga 3 clips of a guy with a pull-up jumper. Or maybe he's going to send Wooga Poplar 3 books to read. Or maybe he's going to find something for Jordan Miller, an article that he found. And he's going to text that article to Jordan Miller. Or maybe he's going to show Jordan Miller some moves inside the left or right block. Right. It's just always focused on trying to make his players and better people.
Okay. This is something that I guess I could say the meat of the interview. And again, Joe Z, WQAM Sports, voice of the Miami Hurricanes, basketball, football, here with Mike McCoy, doing an interview for stateoftheu.com. And we're obviously talking about the men's and women's Final Four run. So very general question that I just want you to go ahead and, freestyle in the best Joe Zagacki form that you can. What do you think? How will this run? What is the impact do you think it would have on the community, on the basketball program, past, present, and future? Because I happen to think that it does. I mean, it makes the past obviously extremely proud. Do you think it would want to have them be around the program a little bit more, maybe a little bit more involved? Presently, what do you think it does for the guys, or maybe recruiting, and obviously for the future? And that doesn't necessarily have to be on the court, because we all know Miami. First thing you think about Miami is probably not so much basketball, maybe so in the future. But how would you answer that question?
I'm hopeful and very optimistic it's going to have a major positive impact on both the men and the women. First of all, you start with, you've got 2 great coaches, Coach Meyer and Coach Larrañaga. Kids want to play for them. They love their style. They love the way both coaches connect. I think both coaches are very modern thinkers, very progressive, very modern thinkers that know how to connect with young people. So you start there. And I think other players, other athletes that are getting ready to make decisions on where they want to play and who they want to play for, look at that and they say, those coaches are very attractive. That's one. Now, this Final Four run, I would think that it would energize the fan base to say, hey, now we've got something other than football. We've got basketball. We are legitimate in basketball because we made the Final Four. We made the Elite Eight. We have good players. We're having success in the ACC. We can sell these buildings out. So I would think that it will have a major impact with fans, with the fan base, because now they've got all kinds of credibility. This isn't just, Cinderella. This has been hard work for a lot of years. Katie Meyer has been taking her team to the tournament. Jim Larrañaga has been taking his team to the tournament. But now they both broke through to new frontiers. And then you have to figure this, Mike. There have to be a whole bunch of young people, young kids that are looking at that, young boys and girls that are going, hey, the University of Miami, the only thing they're going to know is that they made the Final Four in the Elite Eight. When I was a kid, University of Miami played basketball in the Miami Beach Convention Center in the 60s. My dad would take me. Then they stopped playing basketball from 1971 to 1985. When I was, the years that I would be growing up, the 70s, there was no college basketball. How would I be a University of Miami college basketball fan? There wasn't any. Yep. And now we have college basketball at the highest level. So anybody that's, 10 years old, 15 years old, they can look at the University of Miami and say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, something special is going on there. I want to go watch the Hurricanes play. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to have an enormous positive impact on the program.
With Miami being so fertile in football talent, all right, and not that there haven't been, names that have broken through, in college basketball, and some played for Miami, but I guess I'm trying to get to the, the whole transfer portal and recruiting thing, and the question you just answered about the future. What do you think is kind of more attractive to basketball players, whether it be the transfer because we saw Jordan Miller was a transfer, obviously Nigel Pack, Omier, and Coach L does a great job recruiting. I mean, we saw Lonnie Walker come in, and then Bruce Brown was, I think, the year before. I think it was the year before, if I'm not mistaken. So he's shown that he can recruit. But I think, where do you think Miami's going to make their bones in terms of like fielding their roster in the future? Where do you think that's going to lie mostly in?
Very good question. We don't know. The roster they have right now, we don't know who's coming back. Right? All these guys, college basketball is in a weird spot. Last year, Miami had nobody transfer out. If somebody wants to transfer out now, maybe it's because they want a bigger role. Maybe, guys that were support players, maybe they think, okay, I went to the Final Four. Maybe I can go to another team and take that team on a deep run, but I'll be the guy. Maybe there's somebody out there at another school that's not happy, or they want a bigger challenge. Well, kids transfer for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's because Miami has semi figured out, or as well as anybody, the NIL. Maybe that becomes attractive. It's hard to say. And so I don't know what the Miami roster is going to look like. I just know this, that Coach L, first of all, he's only going to recruit players that he can coach. Okay. A guy could be a 5-star McDonald's All-American, but if he can't coach him because the guy's attitude, he's not going to recruit him. His mantra, attitude, commitment, class. He wants to make sure that whoever comes in will abide by that. Have attitude, have a great attitude, have a wonderful commitment, be committed emotionally, spiritually, and then represent the program with class. And if someone can't live up to those things, he can't coach them. Right. Doesn't matter how good they are. So I would think that, and he hasn't missed on many guys, that's for sure. He's got a great eye for talent. He's got a great eye for shooters. He knows how to develop players. So I think this is going to be an attractive place for Miami. Just have to wait and see who's staying and who's going.
Okay. So I found it frustrating from a fan perspective and, an alum perspective. There is just certain points throughout this NCAA Final Four run, or, March Madness run, where I feel that the university, the basketball team was slighted because NIL kept being brought up over and over as to the reasons why this team was a success, and the only reason why this team was a success. Yes, we know, Nigel Pack came in on a deal. The Cavinder twins and Jordan Miller. I'm sorry, not Jordan Miller. That Wong had to deal with Life Wallet and everything like that. But there was so much more to this team without that, and I just felt that they weren't given the credit that they deserved as to them being a good team and playing together. Because you just said it. Yeah, you could bring all of these guys and all these talents in, but number one, if they can't be coached, if they can't fit, if they don't buy into culture and chemistry and play together, then it's just not going to matter. So in terms of talent and what you saw, because you saw Miami beat a number one seed, you saw them beat Houston, you saw them beat Texas, okay? You saw them put up a decent fight, at least in the first half against UConn. And, a lot of things were different about that game. But in terms of where this team stands talent-wise in comparison to the rest of the nation, can you kind of put a gauge on that, where this Miami team that just finished, how good?
Here, let me just jump in. I thought the national narrative about the NIL in Miami was a load of rubbish.
Thank you.
I thought it was awful. I want somebody, I hope that other people will jump on that. It was not right. It was completely, the narrative was not right. Again, it goes down the path of, we just don't like Miami. I'm sorry. I know I have orange and green eyes, but it just goes back to, the 30 for 30s and the football and all that. Oh, it's Miami. They got to be doing something different. Oh, Miami can't win at basketball. I thought they were cheating Coach Larrañaga. The guy's one of the best coaches in college basketball right now. Not only in college basketball right now, in the history of college basketball. Any of those fools look at his record, got over 700 wins. You think that, he won before NIL, he's winning during NIL, and he'll win after they figure out whatever NIL is, because he's a winner. But these fools in the national media want to get up on their pulpit and go, oh, here's why Miami's winning. Or, oh, the ACC's not any good because Miami's on top. They're a bunch of idiots. They really are. And they didn't watch Miami, and their job is to watch all these teams.
Right.
And it's amazing to me how somebody gets, one of these little threads, and then everybody just piles on.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was completely wrong. And if Miami was in the AAC like Houston, Miami would have been 33-3 also, and a number one seed. When Miami played Houston, and Houston had all these numbers, I watched Houston a ton of times, getting ready for it. I looked at their body of work. Maybe I was on an island by myself, but I thought, well, okay, they're the number one seed. They haven't played anything like Miami. And that's going to, and, Miami had the better team. They had the better coach. They had the better strategy, and they executed better. And if they were in that conference, they too would have been 33-3, unless, you're Matt Norlander or Jeff Goodman, who get out there and want to make a bunch of jokes. And I just think it's, wrong and a disservice to the university. And I thought it was unfair to Isaiah Wong, unfair to Nigel Pack, unfair to Jim Larrañaga, unfair to all those guys, because they played great basketball all season long. They bothered to look up until the UConn game. Miami played the same way all year long.
Right.
They got a couple of games, got away from them in January on the road. But other than that, they played pretty much the same way all season long. I just thought it was terrible.
You know what? That was the exact type of response I was hoping for. So thank you. I really wanted an unfiltered Zagacki answer for that. So thank you. I wanted to kind of shift to, I like to do word association, I should say. So I'm going to ask you some names regarding University of Miami basketball, men's and women's, and you just tell me what pops off in your head. It doesn't have to be one word, whatever Josie thinks of. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to start off with Katie Meyer.
Intense, creative, and driven. Great perseverance.
Okay. Leonard Hamilton.
Defensive-minded, hard-nosed, relentless.
Okay, fair enough. Chris Caputo.
Smart, creative, just really smart guy.
Okay.
Smart, really invested in his craft.
Okay. Fern Labate.
Bubbly. I love Fern Labate. Yeah.
Okay.
Fern was special, unique and special. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about. Say again. I'm sorry.
A pioneer from Miami. Yeah.
Yes, I like that one. I'm going to get into now players, current and former. And the reason I bring it, well, I'll tell you why I bring this one up after I hear your response. But Guillermo Diaz,
Explosive.
in my opinion, he is top 2 or 3 best athlete to suit up for UM basketball. At least, in the very least, the Larranaga era, because I just seen him do some things when he was in high school that were just incredible. But I just wanted to get your take on it. Okay. Um, uh, Constantine Papa.
Tall.
Fair, fair. Shane Larkin.
Dynamic.
Dynamic. Okay, I like that one. And oh, I had the other one right here. What was it? Oh, I switched screens really quick. Here we go. Okay, Darius Rice.
Smooth.
Okay. If you had to field a starting five under your Joe Z starting five under the Coach L era, name them: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, a 4 and a 5.
Holy mackerel. It's almost impossible. We had Shane Larkin at point guard.
Okay.
But then I could have Isaiah Wong or Sheldon McClellan or Lonnie Walker or Bruce Brown at the off guard, right?
Yes, you can.
How am I going to do that?
Either of those fit.
And then I'm not sure where I put Kamari Murphy. Probably would not be, high on your list, but Kamari Murphy might be the bbest defender that Coach L ever had.
Wow. Okay.
Then if I have to have a pure center, probably Tanya Jakiri.
Okay.
Because Tanya also was a great defender and had a nice touch around the rim. Wasn't a great scorer, but a great defender.
Yes.
And then Reggie Johnson. If I have to go, by position, pure position, I got to put Sam Wardenberg in there somewhere.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Can I make Sam the power forward? I mean, Sam was a great rebounder.
Yes.
Really smart. Could step out. Kenny Kaji could probably float in there somewhere, right? Then you go back to the guards. I had Angel Rodriguez and Sheldon McClellan. Where am I going to put those guys?
Exactly. It's kind of not fair. And we're only talking about 12 seasons here, or is it 13 now? It's 13 seasons.
13 coming up. So 12 years completed, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we mentioned a lot of the same names. I wrote an article for State of the U around this time last year, and I did a whole team. I mentioned 15 guys because, there's 3 that are inactive and, 5 starters, 12 that suit up. So
how would I leave Durant Scott off that team? Durant was is one of the all-time great players.
Yes.
Great driver. Had one of the all-time great games at the ACC tournament, the semifinals of North Carolina State. I don't want to cheat Durant Scott, and also one of my favorite players.
You can't. And it was a heck of a high school player up from New York.
Davon Reed. How do you take it? Where am I going to put him?
A guy that's in the NBA again, and the more you keep going, the more you keep remembering. So this was my list, and like I said, it's very similar to yours. So the starting 5 was Larkin at the 1. I had and again, I did this last year, so I had there are some guys that probably would be on the list now that aren't. I had McClellan at the 2, Texas transfer. I put Lonnie at the 3. And I'm probably maybe going back and forth with that now, but I have him at the 3. I put who was at the 4? I put Kaji at the 4, and I put Reggie Johnson at the 5. That was my starting 5.
I could that. I mean, that's a good starting 5. I mean, these guys, Coach L, they're interchangeable parts.
Exactly. And then the bench is exactly that. So I had the first guy off the bench. I got a Swiss Army knife by the name of Bruce Brown. I think I had like 3 guards on the bench. I have Angel Rodriguez coming off the bench. I have Devon Reed, guard forward. I have Julian Gamble. Love me some Julian Gamble.
Julian Gamble, he'll shoot me if I didn't mention him.
Got you. I do have Tanya Jakiri also coming off the bench. I also had Daquan Jones. I had Daquan Jones coming off the bench, another athlete that was just, I think you ought to have at least one of those on the team. Durant Scott out of the Bronx. And then I had Cameron McGusty. I had
Uh,
Anthony
I didn't put
Lawrence.
McGusty in there. Yeah, I forgot
Oh,
McGusty.
there we
Sorry,
go.
Cam. I didn't mean that. Cam and Julian, I'm sorry. Cam McGusty had
um,
one of the great seasons last year.
absolutely, absolutely. And then
How
the
about
other two.
Charlie Moore? Where are you going to put him?
Oh my God, yes, yes, Charlie Moore. You got to like a guy that plays to me similar to like Chris Paul, but that's a different story for a different day. And then I finally to round out the team, I had Anthony Lawrence and Sam Wardenberg. So those are my guys. So a lot similar to the names that you mentioned.
Yeah. I know I'm missing one other guard, and come to me in a minute, but and I think it's impossible to make a starting five. They've had some great players.
Yeah.
People ask me which team, what team would win, and again, that's almost impossible.
Yes. Yes. You mean the team that won the both regular season and ACC
Well,
championship?
like if you took the 2013 team,
Yep.
how would they do against this year's team,
Yep.
or the team with McClellan and Angel and Kamari Murphy? How would they do against this year's team, or the 2013 team? I mean, those matchups are fascinating, also. Which I think the broader point is this just shows you what kind of coach and caretaker Jim Larrañaga has been for the Miami Hurricanes
Sir.
program.
100%. 100%. And Joe, I know you got to go, so I appreciate it. I just want to ask you one more thing, and it's probably going to be hard for you to answer, but if there was a moment that you could pick out throughout these last 4, 5, 6 weeks that sticks out to you, that when you're one day on vacation, and you're reminiscing and leaning back with your wife next to you, and you're talking, and say, you know what, this is a moment that really stood out. What was it? Was it a moment on the airplane? Was it a moment during the game, after the game? Was it a heartbreaking moment? Can you name something that you will? There's a bunch of moments that are going to stick with you forever, but can you name one or two?
Well, I probably dwell on. I thought the Texas game was maybe one of the greatest games the University of Miami's ever played in basketball. It had all the elements, every box was checked. Two great programs, great venue, stakes could not be higher. Both teams going at each other. Miami and Texas, there's something special about those
Yeah.
two programs. Omier rolls the basket, puts it in, and Miami's going to take the lead by one.
Mhm.
The place went crazy. And I thought, holy Moses, down 13, they've come all the way back to take the lead. So certainly that was just so thrilling, that entire game. But the last 10 minutes of that game might be the most intense 10 minutes I've had in a long time. I had the good fortune of being able to cut down a little piece of the net.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was really cool. And I think, maybe from a school perspective, and just for me being a part of it, when Miami came out onto the floor, here come, the cheerleaders with the Miami flag at the Final Four, and the Hurricanes come onto the floor on that big stage. The floor is elevated to the Final Four in front of 75,000 people. It was just mind blowing to me.
Wow.
To have the University of Miami basketball team, I
Yeah.
probably have called maybe 1,000 Miami basketball games. I don't know. And for that one moment where they came out on the floor, I just had to sit there and watch it. That
Wow.
was just like I said, a mind blowing moment.
Amazing. And we all appreciate your work. Great, great job on the air that you do with you and your team, WQAM. Legendary voice. We love the passion that you bring. We're tuned in every Saturday during football season, every show that you come up with. And we just want you to keep going. We really appreciate your work. You're great. And just keep at it. Don't get bored of it. Okay, don't get bored of this, because we don't want to hear another voice for a very long time.
I
Mrs.
appreciate
Sagaki,
that.
we appreciate her as well for keeping you doing the right thing. So let her know that we're appreciative of her as well.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the kind words.
Thank
Very
you.
nice of you.
Thank you for your time, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
All right.